Switch camera. Switch camera. Button. Switch camera.
Hi guys, welcome to this lazy whatever you want to call it. Oh shoot. Yeah, this lazy workshop, which will be on PBX systems and building websites. As you probably can't see.
Now, new from Larry Bundy Jr. 5 totally messed up influences of video game mascots vertical line fact hunt. 11:29 p.m.
Hang on.
Video. 28 minutes, 44 seconds. 8:05 p.m.
As you can see, I'm uploading my vlog, which is doing pretty well on the iPad there. So anyway, we'll get to business, I think. Before we do, I'm gonna dim the lights so you can see the DS screen, and we're going to be opening Flipnote Studio. I'm in my pajamas. I'm going to jump into bed once I've done this. I've got a very, very messy bed. My room's pretty messy. It's like a teenager has hit it. I'm going to use Flipnote Studio. Now, if you want, grab a beer. I thought someone was watching then. Yeah, every few minutes I'm going to check the viewer stats. But please do come in. I'm not going to share it on all the platforms. So that's how lazy I'm going to be. I'm going to do a lot of talking, and I suggest that you have this on a separate laptop going or whatever. This is a mobile live stream as well, so if you want to come on and say hi, please do. I am actually going to do a workshop on how to streaming as well. A workshop on a workshop. Now, I know the GRX conference hasn't started, but this is kind of a bit of a practice form we do. Now, GRX, they do big conferences, and we'll be streaming straight to the conferences, but we'll be doing it straight through YouTube, what we're doing. So, if you want to join in with what we're doing, I suggest grab yourself a pen and paper. You will need one. We're going to be taking lots of notes. We're going to be discussing a lot of things. So I'm just going to grab the DS here. Put it on. Big thumbs up to Nintendo for making their systems creative. So, I'm going to shut the lights off. And we're going to start. We're going to begin. I'm going to take out the DS stylus. And we're going to draw PBX system. Forgive my wobbly stylus, ladies and gents, but that's what we have to go with. I decided not to show any phones off because a lot of presentations the a lot of presentations don't show off hardware systems, and the reason for that is because when they show off the systems, when they show off hardware systems, it's like, well, if they're going to be a cloud-based system and they're selling hardware, it's not really good. Okay. And we're developing as a company. We spoke with a couple of software companies and hardware companies, and I suggest you buy both. And we'll get into the presentation a little bit later why you should buy both, but I personally think you should buy both, invest in both, because you'll make your money's worth in getting both. Cloud-based systems are good because it's all in the cloud and it can be anywhere, whereas hardware systems aren't as good because they're not anywhere, they're in the office block or whatever. So that's where it comes in. And whatever you're hooked up to, it doesn't help the fact that you have. It doesn't help the fact that you know. But also to keep in mind that cloud-based systems do offer, really, some really good services on cloud-based systems. I think I will do another workshop on this because I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that, a lot of ground that I think we will cover or will need to cover in the meanwhile. We have literally about 20 phones on our system. But the most important thing you need to think about is how your system is running. So as you can see, I've crudely drawn the 20 phones going through 5 different channels. I'm just going to see who we've got, folks.
Live. 9 minutes 8 seconds. Live.
So 9 minutes into the broadcast. That's nice.
Live. Chat options. Button. Chat options. Button. Chat. None. Live chat. All top chat. Some messages, such as potential live chat. All messages are visible. Button. Finish. Button.
There we go.
Zero watching now. Zero watching now. Zero watching now. 0 likes.
Okay, 0 watching. So back to this presentation. As you can see, all the phones, they're going from one bit to another. You've got one cable sent to another channel. You have all phones on this line. Now on your external line, which are the phones you're going to pay for, that's something you need to think about. Where is all the data going? Where's all the phones going? You need to make sure, you need to make sure that you have some good filters in place, because if people are doing stuff they shouldn't do in the workplace, it's gonna slow down the quality of the call. And that's why you need to think about the speeds that everything's going down the cable. We actually at MindMob we run some of our data down fax cables, just because it's, even though it's quite slow, it's data and it runs quite smooth the way we run it. I had someone ask us, can you run something off telegraph cables? Yes, you can, because it's data. You run data down data cables, you run voice down voice cables. Pretty simple. But you want your network flowing to a point where it's mixed. You don't want to be you don't want to be thinking about, say, how, you know, why the cables are why the things are lagging speeds, because with, say, if you send data down voice cables, which you can do, it'll run slower and you'll need more channels to do it. You can send voice down data cables, but again, it's the speeds you run. If you send everything down the same cable, the quality in data and the quality in voice is going to drop and it's going to lag and it's not going to be very good. And again, at MindMob, we have different things. We have a separate channel. We send everything down a separate line. At the moment, we're having to set up 2 lines. But when we set up 4 lines, which we're hoping to do, then you can, yeah. Have I got any freebies for anybody in this stream right at the moment? Well, just recapping over the first 2 slides. We hope that you're keeping up so far. Whoever you are, we just hope that you're keeping up and that you're making notes. Making notes is good. I'll wait until we've got more people in the stream. I'll wait until we got a few more people in the stream, and then maybe if we get a few more people in, we will try and see if anybody remembers anything. Otherwise, it's going to be a complete waste of time. Do I run the workshops on Facebook Live? No, because we just don't. We're trying to, YouTube is a bigger platform than Facebook and Periscope, and a lot more people watch YouTube. So, analog versus digital. I should have done this on the first slide, really. Versus VoIP. This is the first time I've done a workshop, but if I ever do workshops in the future, I want them to be running quite smooth. And so I want to talk on analog, digital, VoIP, which is digital, automation. We took on a lot here. First of all, if you have an analog phone system, don't try and run digital off it. I'm keeping things basic here. You run a digital phone system off a digital line. You could even run, you could run internet phones over each other and have them going through an analog switchboard, but we're going very complex. I want to keep things simple, and in all these tutorials I want to keep things simple, because if I'm teaching you something, you know, or I'm talking through something, I'm doing a talk and I start going off on one, you know what I mean? So analog, excuse me, is all the pulses going down the line. So when you used to dial a number, say to your granny in wherever she used to live, or Joe Blogs down the road, it would send pulses through to the exchange, and then back through to the exchange and through to the line, and then it would send it to that. Now, say if you wanted to ring Mrs. So-and-so's desk, we'll call her Mrs. So-and-so because I don't think she has a name. What you would then do is you would go through another exchange. You would have had back in the day, you'd have had two exchanges. You would have had a public exchange, which you rent the phone, and you'd have had a business exchange. Some people had private exchanges, but they rented the phones through to public exchange. So the private exchange would then talk to the phone, and then it would talk to the public exchange. So if they had a private operator who was sat in a desk somewhere, they would put, say, Mrs. So-and-so through to Mr. So-and-so's desk, or if Mr. So-and-so was ringing Mrs. So-and-so, if they were ringing each other's desk and Mrs. Blogs was putting them through at the reception, she would connect them through at a switchboard on the main reception. And she would connect them through, and it would go down the line, and it would go to the phone, and the pulses would be sent down the line. Data, again, was sent the same way, but not a lot of people sent data. Even with telegraphs. Excuse me. They were sent down certain lines. I think it's when we got into teleprinting, which I'm going to sort of leave alone. Things like teleprinting and fax. I'm going to leave alone. Anything to do with data, I think we're just going to leave alone for today. Because I'll run and I'll run a whole workshop up on this again, to recap all your memories and things. You'll probably fall asleep, got drunk, and forgotten. But yeah. So I'm hoping you're taking notes, to anybody who's watching this. Hoping you're taking notes, because this could be coming really good. If you're running a business and you're running a small sort of PBX, this is something you need to know. And these days, people tend to run things from via internet. So the good thing to set up would be to have, make sure you've got your VoIP, your voice over IP addresses. And to keep things simple, people tend to use Google. But this is how digital phones, instead of pulses, we have zeros and ones, and each zero is an off, and each one is an on. So it usually goes on, off in a certain frequency. When you dial an area code, it's actually dialing through certain different numbers. In fact, an area code, if I'm remembering rightly, has about, I can't remember how many digits it has now, but it's going through to that area and then going through to that area. So it's kind of, when it goes through to a certain area, it then gets connected, and there's still a lot of disconnecting and connecting. Phone exchanges have to talk to each other before they talk to the switchboard. And this is when you get sort of ingoing and outgoing, which is really important, because all your ingoing calls, you have to know where they're coming from, and your outgoing calls, you know where they're coming from. You have your external line, which is your now normally for a BPX, you'll have a different provider for a BPX. I can't remember who we've gone with. Because we were going to set up an IBX with them anyway. Systems. Whoops. Systems. For our phone scripts, we use basic programming. All that print. Print such and such a thing, and then run such and such a thing. And that's what we use.
25 minutes 2 seconds. Zero watching now. 0 likes.
Well, we've got 25 minutes into this. Just wanting to recap. Let it sink in with the viewers. Well, I'm gonna go because I'm quite tired, but hopefully I'll be doing another stream pretty soon. I'm doing them quite a lot now, so anyway.